Hey everyone, this is Professor Lushine, and I've been meaning to create more frequent, like every 2 weeks, a review video, but things really got away from me in September. I don't know what was going on. So I'm going to try to cover all these things right now, plus some additional information just to kind of supplement the lectures that have been going on, and I hope my neighbors mowing their lawn right now isn't going to bother you. So, like I had said, I had some sort of big external or extracurricular presentation or meeting every single week in September and then into October. They're just listed over here. The biggest is always the board of directors for ASSP. It's a lot of work because there's probably 2 to 3 hours of pre-reads and homework before we go to the meeting, and then the meeting is 2 full days. I then had to go from Chicago to Seattle to represent the board at the Region 1 Regional Operations Committee meeting. Oh, man, busy, 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 but we're back. We're back, baby. And I'm going to try to be here for everything. So here's your course performance so far. I've got your average, and this is an overall average and not a weekly average, which is more accurate because I wasn't able to get the hours when I was that Monday morning when I was in Chicago. So I've got your average time, average touch, the average quiz scores, the average binder scores, and then the memo score. This is just to let you all know because this is a slash class. That's what the official term is. We've got undergrads and grads. I don't have the numbers here, but I believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 and 7 or 16 and 8. Typically, the grad students perform better, and that's pretty much what we have here. Just the way it normally is, having life experience and doing stuff like that, even though they have limited time, tend to perform better. As far as the stats go, they've got more touches. For time, not so much. The students are actually beating them, but maybe it's this really high one. How about the low? Low is 0.6. Yeah, okay, well, interesting. But it's all it means. It's just I track these things. We've got a few people who didn't turn something in, and that's what's affected the scores so far. The couple students who were having issues, I reached out to both of them, and I've heard back from both. So, success. Here's the Quiz 1 stats. I only review the questions if we had lower than 80%. So, Quiz 1, everybody did well. Everything was above 80%. Week 2, and you can just look at the average score, high score, low score, standard deviation, average time. That's interesting stuff, right? But the one question that we had a 73 was, which of the following best describes safety culture? And it's both from the slide and the reading, but it is the perception that affects attitudes and behaviors in relation to an organization's ongoing health and safety performance. That's the best description. This is safety climate. And this is learning culture. This is, that's a self-comparison, self-awareness, self-efficacy, something like that. Let's see here. So here we had 2 questions that were lower. First one, what structural change did I make to the 300 log that I had showed you in the lecture and then provided a copy? I broke down column F into 3 columns because that's all vital information. So cause, body, part, result. These other ones, 3 columns. See, this is a good idea, but that's not what I did. Let's see here. So if you just look at that list of the beyond first aid that I had provided, taking over-the-counter pain medication at or above the prescription dose would make it recordable beyond first aid. All the rest of these are listed at things you can do, and it's not first aid. Yeah, the drilling through the finger. I even specified that in the lecture, that surprised me, but I don't know. Are people not watching lecture, or maybe it's just some things are trivial. I don't know. All right, so week 4 now. So this one right here, what's the worst scenario? It is when everything there is lost time. That's the worst. So when there's no lost time, that's the worst condition. When there's more lost time than that's bad, but not the worst. When there's no lost time cases or DART is equal to TCIR. Well, that actually is decent. Actually, that's good. This one over here, which of the following conditions is not a criterion for contacting OSHA. Unconscious makes it recordable, but not contact. Contact is amputation, loss of eye, or hospitalized, or fatality. And week 5 stats, keep going. Just one question, and I was really surprised at this one because covered in the lecture video, you had access to it through the readings and everything. Incidence rate is always based on 100 FTE. I don't know where this came from, other than that's the constant that's used in the equation. So I'm just drawing here sort of a case study, a systems approach, quality management, continuous improvement of what we're trying to do. That's kind of the reason for me reviewing those kinds of stats and things like that. So the organizational influence is my attempt to define what is expected, make topics interesting and relatable, and provide feedback on performance. Your role is awareness of learning technique, understanding what is expected, committing time for what is needed, and then communication for clarification and desire to improve. So these are the two things that the reason why I cover this stuff is the way I cover it is to fulfill the organization individual part of the work system. All right, let's do a quick review because each week I do review it. So maybe it's not that big deal, but what I want to call out specifically is my continuous improvement model, in which what we do is we go talk to the workers and supervisors, find out what they're perceiving management wants them to do, and then observing and talking to them about the behaviors and the perceptions they're exhibiting. Then we take that and we go and educate management so they have a better idea of what's really going on, redefine their goals. The work system itself, if we just focus on the worker as the problem, we're completely ignoring everything else that's actually creating the opportunity for people to either commit an error or not observe something and get hurt. Started talking about continuous improvement, and we covered safety culture, safety climate. I don't like the term safety culture. I like learning culture. I actually was in an was it an advisory board meeting? It was some sort of meeting. Everybody's still using this language, yet they're saying that we need to change and have more business acumen and be almost more operational, be part of operations with safety. But then we're still using this term. That's what's holding us back. Climate came up from Zohar, and this is just the worker's perception is management committed to safety. In week 3, we started getting into Heinrich and Bird. We looked at the error models, which I think is great, and I started tearing down the incidence rates. Week 4, we talked about the Pareto ratio. That one question I went over a little ago, here's the answer right here. It's in this slide from week 4. Assumption normality is violated by injury data, therefore we really have to be careful when we report things, but we use them for benchmarking and tracking within our own company. We really shouldn't be comparing to anything outside of it. It's just not valid. Okay, so is this the memo? Was this the memo? Yeah, this was the memo. These are the slides I'd given you in preparation for it. So 50% of the score is planning, so make sure you provide the evidence of what you thought about and plan to present or communicate to management. Just like in math class where you have to show your work, that's what I was focusing on. And we used the memo, the most basic of all business communication. Talked about what I really wanted. The issues that I saw that typically resulted in points off is people weren't providing cover page, they weren't providing their planning document, they weren't actually providing a table that showed before and after. That's the whole basis for this. That's what you have to do. Got to have tables and figures to educate management and then explain it. Didn't use any readings as reference. Needed that. And then also some of you didn't even ask for investment. So that was the big slip-ups. And I thought it was pretty clearly laid out exactly what is expected. So as we move into the next project, make sure you do. And then week 5, I'm starting to break down the injury ratios and comparing beard labor statistics to the OSHA 300 and 300A data. And I guess we went a little bit further into when is reporting. It sounds like we had already done that too, though. Quiz 6 this week, if you haven't already taken it. make sure that you take a look at these study sheets, because the work you do in these study sheets is the work you're going to be doing in the quiz. So like here's an example of one of them here. If I give you a 300A and a summary table from the BLS, can you compare and make a judgment call? Yeah, that's about it. And so I also provided the links should you need it, and here are the tables should they not show up. Yeah, it's from a few years ago, but we trying to put these things together, like false annual injury records, is crazy. It really is. It takes a lot of time, and there's always little teeny problems. The executive summary that you're writing this week is not meant to be difficult. Here's what you do. You read this document. So it says, read and review this report for the executive summary. So read this, summarize it, break it down, and then create a planning document. And it's the same planning document that you used during the memo, but you're just writing an executive summary. And break it all down. So like 2, 3, 4 pages, summary, the main tables, main figures you want to use. What are you trying to tell management, right? And then go ahead and write the executive summary, 2 pages max. In this example that I provided for you, make sure you don't copy it. The first page, I've got this figure 1 from the actual report. And then, so I'm describing what was done. Here's the main, here's one of the answers that were found, and then I explain it, and it kind of leads up to how is the company performing? What should we do? So, is it the 17th or is this date old? I can't remember. I'm trying to see here. Open up, dude. Yeah. Sunday. Today is the 9th, so that's wrong. Today's the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. 12th. So that's supposed to be the 12th. Yeah. Here are the study objectives. It's in the report itself. You make sure you are picking which ones you want to explain in the executive summary. Make sure you read the assignment requirements. That was the issue with the memo. Create a detailed planning document, because that's 40% of your grade for this. So demonstrate what you were thinking and what you want to put together. Yeah, make it look good. And submit it as one single PDF document. The midterm is next week. It is, what did I say? You get 60 minutes to complete 10 multiple choice and 15 problem solving. And the problem solving is very much like week 6 quiz. So if you don't do as well, make sure you look at the study sheets. Contact me. I can go over some things. The midterm exam is open note. You will need a calculator. You must work alone, and make sure you read all instructions, all questions, all possible responses, and the expectations for how to type it in. And that's similar to what you did in week 6 quiz. The semester project will also be introduced next week. And so here's kind of a summary of it. Essentially, I've got a multi-year workers' compensation claim database, and you're going to analyze it. So what I have here are just some examples. This was a trend analysis for 17 through 23. Trying to just say, how is the company performing? Outliers have been removed. Down here is the final result, in which they have their priorities set up here by class code and cause and site. The estimated loss from a claim perspective, from an actual payment perspective, the assumed return on investment, the requested investment, and the outliers not included in those estimates. So this individual is able to request of management a little over $100,000. And by the way, that is meant to mitigate the factors that could lead to a conservative $127,000 that next year, not including almost $800,000. So that is the semester project. As we start moving into this project, I'm going to make sure that I'm available, more available to you, especially on Sundays, because I'm going to be providing videos of how to do the analysis, but then you have to perform it for your own. at some point things become a little bit like repetitive, and so you may say, oh, I know how to do this, and just go ahead and do it. You don't have to follow mine, but at least you'll know what the right answers are, so you can kind of backtrack to make sure you're doing it right. So I will be setting these up for you. I'm just trying to wrap up my graduate research methods class, make sure that they're all across the finish line, and then I'll be able to dedicate my weekends and evenings just to you. How about that? All right. So the last thing I want to do, I know we're at 15 minutes already, but maybe I'll come back and cover more of this. Just letting you know that I've been, dwelling on leading and lagging indicators for a long time. And when I worked for Aprilaire for that year and a half, this was my first attempt at breaking things down. And then this is what I was recommending they pursue based on my successes and insights from that first year. Here's what I did in week 1. I actually analyzed the data just the same way that you're going to. And this was their experience modification rating calculation that I received. But based on my analysis in a 3-year loss ratio, I was estimating that their experience mod would probably go down by about, 11%? They'd get about 11%. They're at 1.04. And we're going to be getting into work comp here in a minute, and you'll understand everything. But the Wisconsin average is 0.93. I think it's 0.92 now, if I'm not mistaken. I evaluated their claims based on total amount paid and found there were some outliers that need to be considered. The final I did for the Madison plan, Poignant I also analyzed for, but for Madison I was going to look at cut, puncture, scrape, and manual material handling, and you see I had some estimates. It's not a lot compared to the overall, but it's somewhere to start, right? I also did a deep analysis on their OSHA record keeping and calculator interest rates, and I found that they were using the wrong hours. Kind of narrowed things down, try to read between the lines. This was their old safety incident reporting. You see that things had been going up a little bit, but they were kind of like all over the place. And my recommendation is we should try to double what people are reporting to us, just to ensure we know what's going on. And I kind of broke it down by what we would need. Here's the incident reporting up through January 2023. This is when I came on board. And so I wanted this doubled. So I wanted all these numbers to be a lot higher. We had 5 incident reports in January, 0 recordables, but I was just starting to get comfortable with it. Here's an overall by month items, things were open, things were posted, things that remain in progress, and things that remain on hold. This was a messy system, and I wanted to improve it. So initially, this is what I was proposing. This was just sort of prioritizing based on what they had. I tried to create KPI performance targets, but this was really early on, and I was relying on what my predecessor had used, but I was still trying to understand things. But I'm trying to have things be specific, measurable, the whole SMART thing. So fast forward 6 months. So now I've got actual data from my new KPIs, and when it's green, it's good. Because I was part-time, safety training was difficult to fit in. JHAs kept being delayed, but I did perform a worker perception survey, which gave me great insight into which shift, which jobs were more frustrated, because frustration tends to lead to sloppy work. Here are my monthly reports. You see, this is similar to what you'd find in an OSHA 300 log, but there's a lot of stuff here, and there's no recordables here. This is all information. I followed up and then was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And so my boss was always asking for this on a weekly basis. She really liked it. So this is something they didn't have before. Here's the basic perception survey. I did everything by paper and pencil, entered it myself, analyzed it myself, got my demographics here. And then I'm not going to go too much into these, but rest assured, about a year after I did this, they paid a company to come in and do it, like corporate wide. And so whatever 5-figure amount they paid, they showed the same results. I did it for just shits and giggles. But basically, it gave me insight on, yeah, see, I even broke things out. It's the same stuff that they did with their computers and their statisticians. I did it. But it was interesting for everybody. We knew our strengths, where we could improve, and we knew we had to spend more time with second shift. And that's something we all focused on, and we did find improvement. So if you'll recall, this is where we were with the incidence rate. And again, I had estimated, I think it's going to go down in the next fiscal year by about 11%. It dropped to 0.92. So everybody was curious why I was able to estimate that. And I showed them, and then they really like, okay, he knows what he's talking about. And so I built a team that was reviewing the work comp stuff more frequently and bringing in the claims adjusters. And we created a better process so all the supervisors and shift managers understood not only what we were doing, but how the whole work comp, claim process and everything works. And so things that we had taken for granted or assumed for a long time was now made into standard operating procedures. So that made it so that people were getting the care they needed, and we were monitoring them to making sure that they could get back to work. So that lowered prices. Or I'm sorry, not prices. That lowered the costs. Here's safety incident reports prior to me and then up through July. You can see, the numbers look pretty good, but it's only half year. It's only half year. You can see my breakdown of first aid report only recordable property damage. If I wasn't looking at these low severity things, I'd only have 7 pieces of information. Instead, I've got a hell of a lot more. So the non-recordable serious stuff is 86.8% of everything. So I had that much more to go off of. And I was also shooting for the 1-to-1 ratio for no lost time, lost time. At this point, I was achieving that. Here's company-wide versus Madison reports. Again, this was a database that they had been used prior to me that I updated. Here's what I had done. Remember I said I wanted to double them? Well, I tripled them as far as getting people to report things. And then here's what I was doing. I'm focusing more of my time and effort on these things. So I'm hearing more and I'm fixing more, even though I am part-time. I created a whole new reporting system. So it isn't just incident reporting, it's safety observation incident reporting that facilitated the higher participation by workers, supervisors, and shift managers. I ran their hearing testing and made sure that was all set. I basically, the first week I got there, their previous provider of subscription eyewear were doubling all their prices, and I wasn't cool with that. So I did some research, found something that actually saved them a lot of money and was much easier. So we were able to order subscription protective eyewear online. So the workers did not have to leave work to go get that stuff. And it just worked out great. And the workers liked it. I would go out there, they wear it, they like it. I was very into visuals. And so whenever I did a training or an issue came up, I tried to create some form of visual that I could print off and put throughout the plant. So the workers were seeing it on a more frequent basis. If we had an injury, I did this type of safety alert. Even though they went through training, these were reminders. And this isn't real. I got this online. That's for a visceral reaction. Shouldn't use that too much, but I felt the need. Oh, this is all messed up. But we had a locking device that came off, but we came to find out the person didn't put it on right. So we didn't have a person remove a lock. I updated and moved around the hazardous material storage, made it easier to remove, basically, and everything became labeled and better segregated. Just other things, too. When there was an issue, I tried to always write up what I was doing so that if somebody needed to pick it up from where I left off, they had it. And it became nice things to use in my classes. And here's just more stuff here. I updated their lockout tagout, made it more specific to the work they were doing and not something that's generalized. I had goals that I came up in August, so it was like a biannual thing. So based on the progress. And then this was my last report out. So I finished, I transferred everything over February 2024, though I did stay on to help him out for a few months and then filled in for him over the summer for like 2 weeks while he was on paternity leave. His wife, they had their first baby, and so he should be with them. And so I came in for a couple weeks. So it was full time for 2 weeks. So you can see, yeah, there's some stuff to do, but I was also training him in on how the stuff works, and I was not there much at all there at the end because I was so busy on campus. Here's more of my numbers. Again, everything helped identify where we should be focusing our attention. And I believe the reporting system had pretty much become what is expected from me, either on a weekly or monthly basis. Here are the numbers, the 300 log stuff. I was able to achieve a 1-to-1, no lost time. And for having, how many did we have? 8 total cases. I had 105 other reportable stuff that wouldn't be considered OSHA recordable. So I had 105 touch points more than if I had just relied on that. And let's see, how are things going? Really, we already have 3? Wow, that's not good. So that's going to inflate things. Let's see. So I'm already transitioning for the new guy here. He was already there. Here's some things that I was going to try to wrap up. I didn't really get to it because I was pretty much on campus then. Proposing projects for other people and what they need to do. And then I provided some ideas for their strategic goals as I was leaving. So I hope that was kind of interesting for you. Maybe helps kind of provide some insight into why I'm covering this material the way I do, because I tested it out and found it to work. And I let the data, I was trying to get more and more engagement with the workers. There's a lot of social, interactional things that were occurring that I didn't talk about, but I will as we get through the work comp. But it was a pleasure, doing the analysis, fixing things, getting feedback, learning from, what people thought. And in the end, I'm able to look back and see that I did improve things. I lowered costs. I saved them money. I made the workers a little bit happier. I made management see safety differently. That includes engineers, maintenance, operations. I had a good time. It was a good group of people to do this with, though. So that's what I got, you guys. I hope this helped out. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll be looking for some emails and information about some upcoming office hours for you.